A simple act of kindness from a stranger changed a billionaire father, his disabled son, and their lives forever. It was a bright Saturday morning when the Harrison family decided to spend some quality time together. Mr. Harrison, a billionaire businessman, rarely got free time to just be with his family. But today, he wanted everything to be different. He had been thinking about this outing all week, imagining the laughter, smiles, and the small moments that often go unnoticed in the rush of daily life. His son Liam, who was 10 years old, had a physical disability that made walking long distances and balancing on uneven surfaces difficult. Despite his challenges, Liam was full of energy, curiosity, and a contagious sense of wonder about the world around him. Mrs. Harrison, a kind-hearted and patient woman, had spent the morning helping Liam prepare for their little adventure. She helped him into his favorite outfit, making sure he was comfortable and confident. She packed a small bag with his favorite toys, a few snacks, and a bottle of water. Liam had a bright smile on his face, his eyes sparkling with excitement. As he looked forward to spending the day outside his usual routine, Mrs. Harrison reminded him gently to hold her hand, and he nodded obediently, though he was already bouncing slightly with excitement. Mr. Harrison arrived in his sleek, black luxury car, its engine purring quietly. He opened the door for his family, helping Liam in carefully. Liam wobbled slightly, but with his father's steady support, he managed to sit comfortably. Mrs. Harrison gave her husband a small, knowing smile. She understood how much he loved their son, but also how little he sometimes had the chance to show it in his busy life filled with meetings, calls, and decisions that affected millions. Today, though, she hoped he would just be present. The drive to the diner was filled with a mix of quiet conversation and bursts of laughter. Liam loved cars and immediately pointed out every unusual or colorful vehicle they passed. "Look, Mom, that car is purple," he exclaimed, gripping the edge of his seat. Mrs. Harrison laughed softly, enjoying the simple joys that often went unnoticed in a busy life. Mr. Harrison, despite his usual distraction with work, tried to focus on Liam's excitement, nodding and making small comments to engage with him. Yet his mind occasionally drifted to the upcoming meetings he had scheduled later that day. Finally, they reached the diner, a modest but charming place with red checkered tablecloths and a welcoming smell of fresh coffee and baked bread. It wasn't fancy, but it had a warm, inviting atmosphere, and the Harrison family appreciated that. They parked the car and carefully made their way inside. Liam held his mother's hand tightly as they walked in, occasionally glancing around at the other diners. He loved observing people, always noticing details that adults often missed. Today, he was particularly fascinated by a small corner where a few children were playing quietly with blocks and toys. The family was greeted warmly by the staff. Emma, a young waitress with a bright smile and kind eyes, welcomed them and guided them to a booth near the window. The sunlight streamed in, casting a soft glow on the table where they sat. Liam immediately pressed his face against the window, watching people pass by outside and waving at a few children who played near the entrance. He was full of life and curiosity, a spark that sometimes went unnoticed by the busy world around him. Mr. Harrison ordered coffee for himself, a smoothie for Mrs. Harrison, and a small meal that Liam could enjoy comfortably. They all tried to relax and enjoy the calm, simple pleasure of being together. Liam chatted about his week at school, his friends, and a new video game he had been playing. His excitement was infectious, and even Mr. Harrison found himself laughing more than he had in weeks. It was a rare moment where the world outside, with its stress and pressure, felt distant and unimportant. As they settled in, Liam's curiosity grew stronger. He looked toward the play area again, his small hands pressing against the edge of the booth. "Mom, can I go see the toys?" he asked eagerly. Mrs. Harrison smiled and nodded, but reminded him to be careful. She knew that Liam's disability made it easy for him to trip or stumble if he wasn't careful. He nodded seriously, understanding the caution, but his excitement was obvious. He slowly started moving toward the play area, with Mrs. Harrison following close behind, ready to help if needed. Mr. Harrison, watching this, felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. He wanted his son to explore, to experience joy like any other child. but he couldn't help the slight worry that ran through him. Liam's small steps were deliberate but cautious, and every now and then he glanced back at his parents, seeking reassurance. The father's heart swelled with love, realizing how brave Liam was, facing challenges that many adults would struggle with. He made a mental note to spend more time being present, not just providing material comforts, but giving attention, love, and encouragement. Around them, the diner continued its quiet, friendly rhythm. Other families laughed, staff moved gracefully between tables, and the aroma of food filled the air. It was an ordinary day for everyone else, but for the Harrison family. It was a special moment, a chance to pause, to connect, and to appreciate the simple joys of life. Liam's laughter, Mrs. Harrison's gentle guidance, and Mr. Harrison's watchful eyes created a bubble of warmth and togetherness as Liam reached the small play corner. He was fascinated by a brightly colored set of blocks. He carefully tried to pick one up, wobbling slightly as he balanced. Mrs. Harrison stayed close, ready to support him if needed, while Mr. Harrison observed, feeling a mixture of pride and concern. Seeing his son's determination and joy made him reflect on how much he wanted to be part of these moments, not just as a provider, but as a parent who truly cared and participated. The family continued to enjoy their time, sharing small conversations, smiles, and laughter. Liam's enthusiasm was infectious, and even the staff noticed the energy he brought to the room. It was one of those rare mornings where everything felt perfect, despite the world outside with all its demands. The simple act of being together, present, and engaged was more valuable than any luxury or business achievement could ever be. Little did the Harrison family know that this seemingly ordinary outing would soon turn into a life-changing moment. Liam's curiosity, combined with the bustling environment of the diner, would lead to an accident that would test their patience, compassion, and love. But for now, the morning was filled with light, laughter, and hope. It was a reminder that no matter how busy life became, these moments of connection were priceless. The father silently vowed to himself that he would cherish these simple joys, no matter what challenges lay ahead, as Liam played. Mrs. Harrison watched him with a gentle smile, and Mr. Harrison felt a deep warmth in his chest. It was more than a family outing. It was a glimpse into the life he wanted to have with his son. It was filled with love, care, and shared happiness. And though the day had only just begun, the foundation of trust, joy, and connection had already been laid, waiting to grow even stronger in the moments to come. Liam was having the time of his life. His small hands reached for colorful blocks, and his eyes sparkled with excitement. He laughed softly as he stacked one block on top of another, enjoying the feeling of accomplishment each time his little tower didn't topple over. Mrs. Harrison stood close, ready to assist him if needed, but she allowed him space to explore on his own. It was important for Liam to feel independence, even if his body sometimes struggled to keep up with his curiosity. She smiled, watching her son's determination and joy. The diner was busier now. Families filled tables, laughter and chatter created a lively atmosphere, and the smell of fresh food and coffee lingered in the air. Liam, captivated by a small toy car sitting on a shelf, leaned forward, stretching his arms toward it. His foot caught on the edge of the play area mat, and before anyone could react, he lost his balance. Time seemed to slow for the Harrison family in that instant. Liam's eyes widened, and a tiny gasp escaped his lips. Mrs. Harrison's heart skipped a beat. She lunged forward instinctively, but in that moment, Liam tumbled awkwardly, small body hitting the floor with a soft thud. Panic surged through her as she rushed to his side. Her hands shook slightly as she checked to see if he was hurt. "Liam, are you okay?" she called out, her voice trembling with fear. Liam's expression was a mix of surprise and discomfort. He had fallen before, but each time it was frightening, especially when he didn't land the way he expected. Mr. Harrison was immediately at his son's side, his face a mixture of shock, worry, and guilt. In the split second he had looked away, something had happened that reminded him how fragile life could be. He crouched beside Liam, placing his hands gently on his shoulders. "Buddy, are you hurt anywhere?" he asked, his voice firm but gentle, trying to mask the panic that threatened to rise. Liam shook his head slowly, but his body trembled slightly from the impact. The diner seemed to notice the sudden tension. Conversations quieted, and several patrons turned to see what had happened. Some murmured softly to each other, while others instinctively looked for someone to help. Mrs. Harrison's hands hovered near Liam, ready to support him, but it was clear that she needed help to calm the situation. She glanced around, her eyes landing on a young waitress moving quickly through the crowd, her expression focused and concerned. Liam, though frightened, looked up and saw the concerned face of the young woman approaching. There was a calmness in her eyes that immediately put him at ease. She knelt down beside him without a word, her movements deliberate and careful. Her hands gently cradled his small body, offering comfort and support without overwhelming him. Liam relaxed slightly, the tension in his tiny shoulders easing under her care. Mr. Harrison watched, frozen for a moment. He had seen many things in his life: business deals, high-pressure negotiations, and situations that required calculated thinking, but he had never witnessed anything like this. A stranger, a waitress at a small diner, was handling his son's fall with a kind of patience and tenderness that left him in awe. It was a stark contrast to the hurried and often transactional world he was used to. In that moment, he realized just how rare and valuable true compassion could be. The young woman, Emma, whispered softly to Liam, asking him if he was okay and telling him that it was all right. She didn't rush him to get up or push him to move. Instead, she allowed him to take a moment to breathe and regain his balance emotionally and physically. Her presence was calming, and her voice carried a warmth that made Liam feel safe. The fear of the fall began to fade, replaced by a sense of trust in the person holding him. Mrs. Harrison, still shaken but relieved, knelt beside them, supporting her son's back as he slowly straightened up. "Thank you," she said softly to Emma, her voice full of genuine gratitude. "He can get frightened easily, and it means so much that you're helping him." Emma smiled kindly, giving a small nod. "It's all right. He's okay now," she said, her voice soothing and steady. "Just take your time. No rush." Mr. Harrison finally found his voice. He looked at Emma with a mixture of surprise and admiration. "That was incredible." "Thank you," he said, his tone serious, but full of appreciation. He felt a strange mix of humility and awe. Here was someone who had no obligation to care for his son, yet she had acted with more kindness and awareness than many adults he knew. It was a moment that struck him deeply, making him think about how often he was too busy to notice the simple yet crucial needs of his own family. Now more composed, clung slightly to Emma, feeling safe in her arms. There was a bond forming, a trust that was unspoken yet deeply felt. He smiled weakly, and she smiled back, encouraging him without forcing him to speak or explain himself. It was a rare and beautiful exchange, a moment of pure human connection that transcended social status, wealth, and background. The other diners, noticing the interaction, returned to their own meals, but carried a quiet sense of admiration. Some whispered about the kindness they had just witnessed, realizing that small acts of compassion could leave a lasting impression on everyone present. The atmosphere, once tense, slowly returned to normal. But the impact of the moment lingered in the hearts of the Harrison family. Mr. Harrison reached down and gently placed his hand over Liam's. "You're okay now, buddy." "I'm right here," he said softly. His voice carried a warmth that had been missing in his busy life. He realized that moments like these weren't just about safety, they were about connection, empathy, and presence. For the first time in a long while, he felt truly present. Not just physically, but emotionally. For his son, Mrs. Harrison, still holding Liam, looked at her husband and gave a small, knowing smile. She could see the shift in him, the understanding that being there for their child was far more important than anything else that demanded his attention. She knew this would be a turning point for their family, a lesson in patience, compassion, and the value of simple acts of care. Liam, now calmed, returned to his toys, occasionally glancing back at Emma with a small smile. He felt safe and cared for, his fear replaced by a quiet confidence that he was not alone. Emma continued to observe quietly from a distance, ready to step in if needed, but allowing Liam to regain his independence. It was a balance of care and encouragement, something the Harrison family would not forget. The father's mind wandered as he watched his son. He thought about the world he lived in, a world filled with wealth, its influence, and power, but realized that those things could never replace the simple, genuine kindness he had just witnessed. He felt a stirring inside him, a desire to be more present, more attentive, and more loving in ways that truly mattered. The fall had been small, but the lesson it brought was enormous. The diner slowly returned to its usual rhythm. Children laughed, families chatted, and the aroma of fresh food filled the air once more. But for the Harrison family, the experience had left a mark. They had witnessed a profound act of compassion, a simple yet extraordinary response to a moment of fear and vulnerability. It was a reminder that human connection, empathy, and love could change the course of a day and, perhaps even a life. As Liam continued to play, Mrs. Harrison held his hand gently, ensuring he remained safe while also encouraging his independence. Mr. Harrison sat back, watching with a quiet sense of gratitude and reflection. He understood that life's most important lessons were often taught not in boardrooms or offices, but in moments like this, moments of care, patience, and human kindness that leave an indelible mark on the heart. And so the morning continued, filled with quiet lessons, subtle emotions, and the beginnings of a change that would ripple through the lives of the Harrison family. All it took was a small fall, a moment of fear, and the gentle hands of a compassionate stranger to remind them of what truly mattered in life. After Liam's small fall, the diner settled back into its normal rhythm. But the tension in the Harrison family's hearts remained. Mr. Harrison, who had always been a man of control and power, felt a strange mix of awe and helplessness. He had seen many crises in his life, financial, political, even personal, but never a moment where he felt so powerless and so profoundly touched all at once. All it took was a small accident, a young boy, and a stranger's compassion. Emma, the waitress, now stood quietly beside Liam, her presence radiating warmth and reassurance. She knelt down to his level, her eyes meeting his with kindness that seemed to pierce through the fear still lingering in him. "It's okay, Liam," she whispered softly. "You're safe now. I'm right here." Her tone was calm and steady, not rushed, not anxious. It was as if she knew exactly what a child like Liam needed, not just physical support, but emotional reassurance. Liam's small hands reached toward her, and she held them gently, making sure he felt her presence without feeling trapped. Mrs. Harrison watched in awe. She had always known her son needed extra care, but seeing a stranger offer that care so naturally and tenderly moved her deeply. Emma's touch was not just about holding him. It was about understanding him, reading his body language, and responding in a way that calmed him completely. She didn't speak over him. She didn't ask a million questions, and she didn't assume. She simply gave him her full attention, something both Mr. and Mrs. Harrison realized they sometimes struggled to do amidst the chaos of life and business. Mr. Harrison stood a few steps back, unsure whether to step in or simply observe. He had the instinct to control, to fix, to protect, but this time, he noticed that his instinctive reactions weren't necessary. Emma's calm and confident care was already doing what he could not in that moment. She was making Liam feel safe, valued, and understood. The sight made him pause and reflect. Here was a young woman, someone far removed from his world of boardrooms and wealth, demonstrating a depth of compassion that no amount of money or power could buy. Liam, still trembling slightly, leaned into Emma's arms. He wasn't crying anymore, but his breathing was uneven, and the fear of falling again made him hesitant to move. Emma adjusted her hold on him, cradling him lightly yet securely. She murmured soft encouragements, praising him gently for being brave and assuring him that it was perfectly okay to feel scared. Slowly, Liam's small body relaxed against her, and the tension in his shoulders eased. His eyes, which had been wide with alarm, softened. He looked up at Emma with a faint smile, silent thank you that no words could fully capture. Mrs. Harrison knelt beside them, her hand resting lightly on Liam's back. She was both grateful and humbled by Emma's presence. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know what we would have done without you." Emma shook her head slightly, smiling warmly. "No need to thank me. He's okay now. That's what matters." There was something about her modesty, the lack of expectation for praise, that struck the parents even more deeply. It wasn't just her skill in calming a frightened child. It was her humility, her sincerity, her complete presence in the moment. Mr. Harrison finally found his voice, though it was quiet, almost choked with emotion. You handled that beautifully." "More than I could have," he said, his tone sincere. He didn't just mean the physical act of holding Liam. He meant the patience, empathy, and understanding she had shown. He realized that he had spent much of his life surrounded by people who valued him for his wealth, influence, or power, but rarely for his heart, and even more rarely for his ability to witness the humanity in others. Watching Emma care for his son, he felt a deep stir within himself. A reminder of the importance of humility and compassion, Emma's attention never wavered from Liam. She made sure he could feel grounded, guiding him slowly to sit back on the soft mat of the play area. She adjusted his posture carefully, ensuring that his balance was secure. Liam's small hands fidgeted with a toy car, and Emma encouraged him gently, asking questions in a soft tone. "Do you want to play with this car? Or maybe we can make a little racetrack for it." Liam nodded shyly, encouraged by her gentle suggestions. Her approach was perfect. She gave him autonomy while providing support. The parents watched in silence, absorbing the scene with mixed emotions. Pride, awe, gratitude, and a touch of guilt mingled together. Mr. Harrison felt a twinge of regret that he hadn't always been this present for his son. Business meetings, travel, and deadlines had often kept him away from small, vital moments like this one, when a child needed reassurance and emotional safety above all else. Seeing Emma act so naturally and selflessly stirred in him a desire to change, to be more attentive, more emotionally available, and more genuinely connected to his family. Other diners had begun to notice as well. Some watched quietly, impressed by the way Emma handled the situation. Children glanced curiously, and parents whispered softly, commenting on her patience and skill. But Emma did not seek attention or validation. She was completely absorbed in Liam, her focus unwavering. It was as though the rest of the diner had disappeared, leaving only her and the child she was helping. That focus and presence made the moment even more remarkable. It was a rare quality, one that left a lasting impression on anyone who witnessed it. Liam's breathing steadied, and a small smile appeared on his face. Emma encouraged him gently, praising his bravery. "You're really brave, Liam. Falling is scary, but you handled it wonderfully," she said. The praise was not forced or excessive. It was perfectly timed and genuine. Liam felt proud of himself, and for the first time since the fall, he felt a sense of accomplishment instead of fear. Mrs. Harrison placed her hand lightly on Emma's shoulder. "You have a gift," she said softly. "The way you handle him, it's incredible. You make him feel safe, understood, and cared for. Not everyone could do that." Emma shook her head with a small smile, her humility shining through. "I just did what felt right. Kids like Liam, they deserve patience and kindness. That's all." Mr. Harrison, still standing nearby, took a moment to reflect. Emma's actions reminded him that true care cannot be bought or commanded. It comes from the heart. He realized that no amount of wealth could replace the genuine presence and compassion she had shown. It was a lesson he would carry with him forever, that human connection, empathy, and patience were more valuable than any material possession or professional achievement. Liam, now calm and secure, began to play again under Emma's watchful eye. She allowed him freedom while staying close enough to intervene if necessary. The small interactions between them, a shared smile, a gentle touch, a whispered encouragement, created a bond that was quiet but powerful. Liam felt safe, and in that safety, he began to rediscover the joy of simple play. The parents exchanged glances, silently acknowledging the profound impact of this moment. They had witnessed something extraordinary, a stranger's kindness bridging the gap between fear and comfort. his vulnerability and trust. It was a reminder that small acts of care can leave lasting impressions, not just on the immediate recipient, but on everyone who witnesses them. For the Harrison family, Emma's compassion had opened their eyes to the value of patience, empathy, and genuine presence. As Liam continued to engage with his toys, the warmth of Emma's influence lingered. She had done more than prevent a child's injury. She had instilled a sense of security, pride, and trust. Mr. and Mrs. Harrison realized that this simple act of kindness would resonate far beyond the walls of the diner. It was a lesson in humanity, a quiet reminder that the smallest gestures can have the most profound effects. The father, reflecting on what he had seen, felt a stirring within him, a desire to be more like Emma in his own way, to nurture, guide, and support his child with patience and love rather than just providing for him materially. He understood, finally, that the measure of his success as a parent wasn't in wealth or achievements, but in the ability to be present, empathetic, and connected to the hearts of those he loved. The morning in the diner had shifted from a casual family outing to a profound lesson in human kindness. Liam was safe, calm, and reassured, but the impact went far beyond that. Emma had not only helped a child in need, she had changed the way the Harrison family saw themselves, their relationships, and what truly mattered in life. And though she remained humble and unassuming, her actions had left an indelible mark on their hearts, one that would shape the way they approached life, love, and family in the days to come. After the accident and Emma's gentle care of Liam, the Harrison family returned to their table, but the atmosphere had shifted in ways they could not fully explain. Mr. Harrison, usually confident and composed, felt a mix of emotions swirling inside him: relief, gratitude, awe, and an unfamiliar twinge of humility all blended together. He watched his son pick up a toy car, still trembling slightly, but now smiling softly, and he realized just how close he had been to losing more than just a few moments of peace. He had nearly missed the chance to truly connect with his child. As Liam settled back into playing, Mrs. Harrison poured him a small cup of water and gently guided him to sit more comfortably. Her presence was steady and calming, but Mr. Harrison found his attention wandering. He thought about the events of the morning, the way Emma had cradled his son with such care and patience. He could not stop replaying it in his mind. There was a natural grace in the way she handled Liam's fear, a balance of tenderness and strength, that he had never experienced in any professional or personal encounter. He found himself silently questioning how he could have overlooked such qualities in people before. For years, Mr. Harrison had lived a life measured by power, influence, and wealth. He had built an empire from the ground up, spending countless hours negotiating deals, attending meetings, and strategizing. Yet in the quiet moments that mattered most, like his son's little fall in a diner, he realized how distant he had been. The tangible successes he valued so highly now seemed hollow compared to the intangible warmth and empathy he had just witnessed. He reflected on the irony. He could control boardrooms, investments, and entire companies, but he could not control the simple need of his child for comfort, understanding, and emotional security. Emma's actions had left a lasting impression. The way she knelt beside Liam, her gentle voice offering reassurance, her hands supporting him without ever being intrusive, had spoken louder than any words or lessons he had learned in his long life. Mr. Harrison felt a subtle pang of guilt. He had provided everything material for his son: luxury toys, the finest education, and comfortable surroundings, but he wondered if he had ever truly been present in the moments Liam needed him the most. Money and influence could not replace the human connection he had just witnessed. He looked at Liam, whose small face now displayed a cautious smile, and felt a wave of love mixed with determination. His son had faced challenges every day that he, as an able-bodied adult, could barely imagine. Liam's physical limitations did not stop his curiosity or his joy, yet those very limitations made him vulnerable in ways that required patience, presence, and understanding. Watching Emma instinctively provide those things, Mr. Harrison realized that he had overlooked the importance of simply being there, emotionally and physically, for his child. The diner seemed to fade into the background as he reflected. He saw Emma's calm face in his mind's eye, her gentle handling of Liam's fear, and the quiet authority with which she reassured him. It was not just kindness. It was wisdom, attentiveness, and an innate ability to sense what a child needed without needing instruction or recognition. Mr. Harrison understood that this was something money could never buy, influence could never command, and experience alone could never teach. It was a rare human gift, and he felt both awe and humility in its presence. Mrs. Harrison, noticing his thoughtful silence, placed a reassuring hand on his arm. She did not need to ask what he was thinking. She could see it in his eyes. He had realized something fundamental about life, love, and his role as a father. The distraction of work and the endless pursuit of success had caused him to miss the simple but profound needs of his family. Today, through a stranger's actions, he had learned that true care required attention, empathy, and patience, qualities he now desperately wanted to cultivate in himself. As Liam played quietly, the father's mind wandered further. He thought about the moments he had missed, the times he had been too busy to listen to his son's stories, to join in his laughter, to reassure him when he felt unsure or scared. Money and power had provided comfort, but they had never guaranteed emotional security or a sense of being truly loved and understood. Emma had shown him, without words, that these were the things that mattered most: the warmth of presence, the patience to guide, and the genuine concern for another's well-being. He realized that he had the opportunity to change, to embrace a new way of being a father. He could no longer allow work, stress, or ambition to overshadow the needs of those who mattered most. Liam's small fall had been a wake-up call, a moment that had shaken him to the core and reminded him of what truly mattered. He wanted to be a father who could offer comfort, reassurance, and emotional support, not just financial security. He wanted to be present in every sense of the word. In the moments that counted, the father's reflection deepened as he considered Emma's role in all of this. She had no obligation to help his son, yet she had acted with selfless care. Her actions highlighted a truth he could no longer ignore: that genuine human connection and compassion could change lives. He felt inspired not just by her actions, but by the reminder that his own capacity for love and patience was something he could expand, cultivate, and practice. He wanted to learn from this moment, to carry it into every interaction with his family, especially with Liam. He glanced at his son again. Liam's eyes were bright, his small fingers fidgeting with a toy. But there was a subtle calm in his demeanor that hadn't been there before. Emma had not only comforted him physically, but had restored his sense of safety and confidence. Mr. Harrison felt a wave of gratitude, not just toward Emma, but toward the universe for providing this lesson in such a clear, undeniable way. It was a moment that reminded him that life's most important lessons often arrive unexpectedly, through small, quiet acts of kindness. Mrs. Harrison, sensing the shift in her husband, smiled softly. She had always known he had a big heart, but she could see now that the seed of change had been planted. He was thinking differently, seeing beyond wealth and status, recognizing the true value of empathy, patience, and connection. She felt hopeful that their family could grow stronger, not just through comfort and resources, but through love and presence. Mr. Harrison made a silent vow to himself. He would prioritize these moments, no matter how small. He would not let work or ambition prevent him from being fully present in Liam's life. He would embrace the patience and empathy he had witnessed in Emma. Learning to understand and respond to his son's needs in a more meaningful way, he wanted to create a family environment where Liam felt supported, understood and cherished, not just for who he was, but for all the challenges he faced and the joy he brought into their lives. The father's thoughts were interrupted, occasionally by Liam's soft laughter or Mrs. Harrison's gentle guidance. Each sound reminded him of the beauty of ordinary life, of the small moments that often went unnoticed but carried profound significance. He realized that love was not measured by wealth, possessions, or status, was measured by the attention, care, and presence one offered to those they cherished. Emma's example had crystallized this, its truth in a way that was impossible to ignore. He also began to reflect on the broader implications of what he had learned. In his world of power and influence, he had often overlooked the importance of genuine human connection. Decisions were made based on numbers, strategies, and outcomes, rather than compassion, understanding, or emotional intelligence. Emma had reminded him that success in life was not just about what one achieves materially, but about the ability to touch lives, offer comfort, and create meaningful bonds. By the time Liam finished his little game and returned to the table, Mr. Harrison felt a quiet transformation within himself. The fear, anxiety, and initial shock of the morning had given way to a deeper understanding, a renewed sense of purpose. He looked at his son, his wife, and then toward Emma, who was now discreetly returning to her duties, but still glancing occasionally to ensure Liam was safe. He understood that this was more than a single act of kindness. It was a catalyst for change, an example of the impact one person's compassion could have on the lives of others. As the family prepared to finish their meal and leave the diner, Mr. Harrison carried a profound sense of gratitude, reflection, and determination. The morning had been far more than a simple family outing. It had been a lesson in life, empathy, and presence. He knew that this moment would stay with him forever, shaping the way he approached his family, his work, and his own understanding of what it truly meant to care for someone. The experience had taught him that love required action, patience, and humility. It was not enough to provide comfort materially. One had to be present, attentive, and emotionally available. He understood that this was the true measure of a father, a husband, and a human being. And as he watched Liam smile and laugh again, he knew that the lesson had been learned, that from this day forward, he would strive to be more like the compassionate, attentive presence he had witnessed in Emma, the waitress who had unknowingly changed the course of their lives. The afternoon sunlight streamed gently through the diner's windows, casting a warm glow over the Harrison family. Liam was sitting quietly at the table, a small smile on his face, playing with a toy car he had retrieved from the play corner. His fall and the moment of fear seemed like a distant memory now, though the emotional impact of that incident had left an indelible mark on everyone present. Mr. Harrison sat across from him, his gaze soft, his mind heavy with thoughts about what had just occurred. For the first time in a long time, he felt the weight of the simple truths of life, the ones that money could not buy and influence could not command. He remembered how Emma had knelt beside Liam, her gentle voice and tender hands comforting his son in a way he never had before. It was more than just caring for a child. It was an act of empathy and understanding that had shifted the father's perspective entirely. Mr. Harrison's thoughts circled repeatedly on the same realization. No wealth, no success, no power could replace presence, compassion, and genuine attention. Emma had demonstrated all of this naturally, effortlessly, and the impact was undeniable. He wanted to embrace that same level of care, not just for his son, but in every relationship he held. Mrs. Harrison watched her husband carefully, sensing the quiet transformation taking place. She had known him as a loving father, but the incident with Liam and Emma had awakened something deeper. She could see that he was reflecting on not just the morning, but his entire approach to fatherhood, to life, and to understanding the emotional needs of the people he loved. There was an intensity in his eyes, a thoughtfulness that spoke volumes about his desire to change, to be better, and to create a family life filled with love and genuine attention. Emma, meanwhile, was returning to her duties, discreetly keeping an eye on Liam from a distance. She did not expect recognition or reward. Helping a frightened child was simply the right thing to do. But Mr. Harrison could not let this moment pass without acknowledgement. He realized that her compassion, patience, and understanding deserved more than gratitude. They deserved opportunity. He had the means, the influence, and the resources to ensure that her talent and character were recognized in ways that could make a meaningful difference in her life and the lives of others. After a few minutes, he called Emma over to their table. She approached hesitantly, unsure if she had done anything remarkable enough to merit attention. Mr. Harrison's eyes met hers with a sincerity she had not expected. "Emma," he began, his voice steady yet warm, "what you did for Liam today, it was extraordinary. Your patience, your care, your understanding, it was more than anyone could have asked for." Emma shook her head slightly, offering a small smile. "I just did what I felt was right," she said softly. But Mr. Harrison was not willing to accept modesty as an answer this time. He leaned forward, his tone earnest and determined. "No, Emma. What you did was remarkable, and I want to make sure that your compassion and dedication are recognized. I run a foundation that works with children with disabilities and families who need support. I would like you to join us to work with us, to help make a difference because you have a gift and it should not go unnoticed." Emma's eyes widened in surprise. She had never expected such an offer, especially not from someone like Mr. Harrison, a man she had only just met under these unusual circumstances. Her mind raced, weighing her sense of responsibility against the unexpected opportunity in front of her. Mr. Harrison smiled gently, sensing her hesitation. "I know this is sudden, but I want you to think about it. You have a talent, Emma, natural ability to care for children, to guide them with patience and love. That's something rare, and I believe it can make a real difference in the world." He paused, letting the words sink in. "I would be honored if you considered it." Emma looked at Liam, who was now smiling and playing with renewed confidence. The small boy's trust in her and the father's sincere words struck a chord in her heart. She realized that this was not just a job offer. It was a chance to expand her impact, to touch more lives in the way she had touched Liam's, and to be part of something meaningful. After a moment of reflection, Emma nodded slowly. I would love to help," she said softly. Her voice carried a mixture of humility and excitement. Mr. Harrison's face lit up with gratitude and relief. He knew that the right person had stepped into their lives at exactly the right moment. Someone whose presence would not only support his son, but enrich their family and the work they cared about deeply. From that day forward, Emma became an integral part of Liam's life and the Harrison family's world. She worked closely with their foundation, dedicating her time, energy, and heart to supporting children with disabilities and their families. Her insights, patience, and empathy transformed the programs she was involved with, creating a nurturing and supportive environment for countless children. Mr. Harrison often marveled at her dedication and natural talent, realizing that he had been given a gift in the form of someone who understood what his son truly needed. The relationship between Liam and Emma deepened over time. She became not just a caregiver in moments of need, but a trusted companion, a mentor, and a friend. Liam's confidence grew, his fear of falling or stumbling lessened, and his curiosity and joy flourished. He felt safe, valued, and loved in a way that allowed him to explore the world with more confidence. Emma's presence in his life became a steady anchor, offering comfort when needed and encouragement when he sought to achieve something new. Mr. Harrison, observing the transformation in his son, felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and humility. He had learned a powerful lesson: the value of human connection. Empathy and presence cannot be measured in wealth or influence. It is a gift, a skill, and a choice that shapes lives in profound ways. He began to make deliberate changes in his own behavior, prioritizing time with his family, being emotionally present for his son, and actively nurturing the bonds that mattered most. The fall that had initially caused fear had ultimately sparked a transformation in their entire family dynamic. Mrs. Harrison noticed the change in her husband as well. The man who had once been consumed by work and obligations now lingered at the edges of playtime, joining Liam in small games, listening intently to his stories, and celebrating his small victories. Their family outings became less about appearances or social status and more about connection, joy, and shared experiences. The lesson Emma had brought into their lives extended beyond her presence. It inspired the parents to rethink how they approached love, care, and attention in every aspect of their lives. Together, the family and Emma cultivated an environment of trust, empathy, and encouragement. Liam's confidence soared, and the parents' bond with him deepened in ways that had previously seemed impossible amidst the pressures of life and wealth. Every small interaction, reading together, playing, sharing a meal, became an opportunity to reinforce love, patience, and understanding. The fall that had once caused fear became a turning point, a catalyst for change that would shape the Harrison family's future in meaningful and lasting ways. beyond their family. The impact extended further. The foundation that Mr. Harrison supported flourished under Emma's guidance, helping countless children and families navigate challenges with care and compassion. Her approach, modeled on the same patience and empathy that had calmed Liam in the diner, became a blueprint for nurturing, supporting, and empowering children with disabilities. Mr. Harrison often reflected on the profound ripple effect of a single moment of kindness the day a waitress cradled his son had led to positive change for hundreds of other children and families. The Harrison's family learned that sometimes the most extraordinary lessons come from ordinary moments and unexpected people. A child's fall, a stranger's kindness, and the willingness to be present and compassionate had reshaped their understanding of love, family, and life. Mr. Harrison, in particular, carried the lesson with him daily, striving to be more attentive, more patient, and more engaged with those he loved. He realized that life's true richness lay not in wealth or status, but in the depth of human connection and the capacity to care genuinely for others. As the sun set on that transformative day, the Harrison family left the diner with hearts full of gratitude and hope. Liam, holding his father's hand and glancing at Emma with a shy but trusting smile, walked with a new confidence. Mrs. Harrison followed closely, smiling softly, recognizing that the family had not just survived a small accident, but had been transformed by it. The experience had taught them the power of compassion, the importance of presence, and the life-changing potential of a single act of kindness. In the days, months, and years that followed, the Harrison family's lives were forever changed. Emma remained a trusted figure in Liam's life and a valued partner in their charitable work. Mr. Harrison's priorities shifted. His perspective widened and his love for his family deepened in ways that had previously seemed impossible. The fall that had caused fear had ultimately opened the door to understanding, growth, and a richer, more meaningful life for everyone involved. And it all began with a young waitress, a frightened child, and the quiet, extraordinary power of kindness.